Maggie's not that annoying. I'm like, what, on my 8th rewatch? I lost count at this point. I used to think she was super irritating, but now, not as much. Her annoying thing is really just her age gap with the rest of the crew, and honestly, it's not bugging me anymore. Yeah, she's awkward and a bit socially clueless, but it's not in a horrible way. In fact, I kind of relate to her now. The only time she really gets under my skin is when she's with Jackson, but outside of that, I don't get all the Maggie hate. Then again, I also don't hate Owen, so maybe I just have terrible taste in characters. Sure, she's a bit naive and awkward, and okay, yeah, sometimes she's annoying, but I've always seen her as a loyal sister and a solid doctor. Honestly, I thought she was pretty professional, especially for Grey's standards. Like when she was on the interview panel after Warren's crash scene, and she straight up told Owen he was wasting her time trying to pin something on Riggs when Riggs literally had nothing to do with it. Love that moment. I had no idea people hated her so much until I started reading this sub. Though, I will admit, she did get a little more annoying to me in the later seasons. But seriously, she's not as bad as people make her out to be. Yeah, she overthinks a lot, but I actually kind of enjoy it. Her script is fun. I think Maggie's one of the more well-developed characters on the show, and she sticks to her guns the whole time. She's definitely not like everyone else, and I appreciate that. Plus, I'm pretty sure she cares more about Meredith's kids than Meredith does. The only time Maggie went too far for me, but of course it was her, was when she basically disowned Indugo for thinking about changing specialties. Classic Maggie. So Callie called Arizona her daughter, as if we haven't seen the same post about this drama a million times before. Seriously, how does this keep coming up? But honestly, I still don't get how everyone forgets the moment when Callie brought up brochures for schools and Arizona shot her down with, "You're not taking my daughter across state." And Callie, in her infinite wisdom, snaps back with, "Please stop saying your daughter." Excuse me? That's her kid too, Callie. The whole custody situation? A mess. They threw Callie out of the picture so she could live with her girlfriend, who she'd been seeing for, like 2 months? Really? That's the direction they chose for her character? Sloppy doesn't even begin to cover it. Honestly, I did a whole post on this before because it was just so rushed and random. Mark would have never stood for this nonsense. And let's be real for a second. Arizona loved that child. That's what any parent, bio or not, would do when they feel like their kid is being taken away. Arizona was fighting for her in a way that honestly no one else did. The custody battle was absurd, totally unnecessary, but it's clear both parents loved Sophia, no question. Arizona had raised her for God's sake. Just because she wasn't Sophia's biological mom doesn't mean it hurt any less. In fact, Arizona was the better parent in the eyes of the court. Yes, even if you think Callie was the better choice, Arizona still won. And then, after all that, Arizona made the hardest decision of all. She packed up and moved. Why? Because she knew what was best for Sophia. She left behind her career, her life, everything. Callie? Well, she followed a girl she barely knew, which, feels like the real plot twist here. Callie saying our daughter would have been the right choice, not this my daughter nonsense. They could have avoided all the drama if they weren't so possessive over Sophia. Mark would have never let it get this far. And look, I adore Callie. I really do. But let's be honest, she was all over the place. She wanted love so badly, from any direction, that she kept going back to George after he messed up with Izzie. "We work through things," she said, like that's some sort of fairy tale. And don't even get me started on how she let Arizona crawl back in every time she made her feel small. Yeah, the way they wrote Callie off, ridiculous. But I have to admit, for once, Arizona came out looking like a damn hero. She put Sophia first. She didn't care about the court's decision or her own life. She just wanted to make sure Sophia was okay. It's like Callie just couldn't see past her own desire to win, while Arizona was already thinking about what was best for the kid. The moment when Arizona said, "My daughter," wasn't just a power move. It was her calling out Callie for acting like Sophia was only hers. Callie had already assumed Sophia was coming with her, and Arizona had to remind her that she had a say too. So let's talk about Meredith and the utter disaster she made of Derek's Alzheimer's trial. I mean, I get it, Bailey and Derek were completely justified in being frustrated with her. She knew, deep down, that they hadn't even reached a point where they could cure Alzheimer's. But instead of just accepting that, she goes ahead and sabotages the trial by giving the drug to Adele. Sure, Meredith was thinking about Richard, Adele, and her mom, but that doesn't make it okay. What exactly did she think would happen? That Adele would magically be fine for a little while, and it'd all work out. Newsflash, it didn't. Adele didn't get better. It didn't work. The trial is wrecked. Derek's career. Oh yeah, that's blacklisted now too. And Meredith? She doesn't even flinch. She actually says she'd do it again. Let that sink in. Now, let's talk about Meredith's amazing ability to never, ever take accountability for her actions. She loses a patient because she's waiting for a CT scan, and what does Derek do? He rips her a new one, pointing out that she never takes responsibility for ruining things. And he's right, she didn't. That patient was still a patient, no matter who he was at the other hospital. But nope, it's always someone else's fault. The writers tried to give us her POV, making Derek look like the bad guy because he was mad about her personal life. But let's get real for a second. What Meredith did was wrong. Period. Same with the trial mess. And then there's the whole Sadie situation. Remember when Christina told her that Sadie wasn't qualified to perform surgery and Lexi had a cutting problem? What does Meredith do? She shuts it down, publicly in front of Richard. But later, oh, she's totally cool with people like Amelia, Owen, and Teddy getting fired, all while she avoids any real consequences for herself. I mean, what's the deal? She's practically invincible. Seriously though, where's the accountability? Other characters at least acknowledged when they messed up. Bailey was convinced she was the common denominator in Izzie cutting the LVAD wire and Christina and Burke's hand situation. Richard told her she'd done nothing wrong, but at least she was wrestling with it. Christina, Alex, they all had moments of guilt over their decisions, and they owned up to it. But not Meredith. She stays silent until someone else steps in to tell her how right she is. Classic. And then there's the whole Alzheimer's trial disaster. Let's talk about how Meredith never felt bad about completely wrecking it. Not only did she destroy the chance of helping countless people, but Derek got blacklisted, and the drug didn't even help Adele. So what did she say? I'd do it again. Are you kidding me? This is the same woman who thinks she's morally gray when, in reality, she's just selfish and only cares about the people immediately around her. Derek was right. She didn't think about the thousands of lives that could have been helped, because Adele was the only one who mattered. And when she saw the consequences of her actions, total silence. Now, what's really wild is how some people on this sub seem to think Derek and Bailey were out of line for being angry. Seriously? She literally ruined the entire trial, put everyone at risk, and caused Derek's career to tank. All for one person. And there's no remorse. The trial wasn't even far enough along to know if the drug would help anyone, and yet Meredith throws it all away, all while pretending that Izzie was the problem for getting too attached to her patients. Newsflash: this isn't about being too involved with patients. It's about basic professionalism. At the end of the day, Meredith's actions didn't just hurt her personally. She hurt everyone around her, and she never once faced the consequences. But hey, she's the main character, so I guess we're supposed to just accept it and move on. But I'm not buying it. You know, Alex really should have caught a lot more flack for his whole mess with Ava/Rebecca. But somehow, he skates by like he's the golden boy. I get it, I do. What Izzie did was wrong, absolutely fireable. I'm not blind to that. But honestly, if we're talking about wrong in the grand scheme of things, This is exactly the first time a doctor's pulled some questionable crap, right? Let's not forget Yang and Burke with his tremor, or Meredith rigging that trial. Oh, and sure, Denny died, but I'm pretty sure clots were his thing, not the whole LVAD wire situation, which, could have been a little more direct. But I digress. What gets me is that Izzie takes way more heat for Denny from everyone, especially Alex, of course, but that's just the start. She gets these ridiculous limitations placed on her from Bailey, and there's all this talk about how she gets too involved with patients. Yeah, I'm sure, like when it was actually good for her to be involved. Sure, that's the problem. But Alex, he's practically encouraged by Addison to go after Ava. And when it's obvious that he's way too emotionally involved with his patient, no one bats an eye. Then Ava pulls her little disappearing act and comes back pretending to be pregnant, and Alex, he gets to be a total jerk, ignore medical advice, and treat her like he doesn't even care when she literally cuts herself. And Izzie, she's the only one who speaks up, and Alex treats her like dirt for it. After all that, when Rebecca skips town and reveals the whole fake pregnancy stunt, Alex, he just gets to pretend like none of it ever happened. It's like it was a bad dream or something. And then, surprise, he goes to Izzie, the same person he treated like absolute garbage over Denny and Rebecca, and cries, asking for her help, like he didn't just destroy her emotionally over and over. Yes, I get that Izzie lets him, and yes, that's incredibly frustrating. But the fact that she gets way more punishment and grief than Alex for this whole debacle is just infuriating. Izzie was wrong, yeah, but come on. The way Alex just keeps getting away with things is ridiculous. And let's talk about how Alex just beats people up and acts like a total maniac. But it's fine, right? He's totally fine. It's like the writers just forgot about any consequences for him. I can't stand those episodes with Rebecca because honestly, I don't like her character, sure. But also, watching Alex be a hypocritical jerk just makes me want to throw something at the screen. The guy should have gotten way more grief for the way he treated her. But no, after she leaves, Alex and Meredith, his trusty enabler, just spend years making fun of her. They villainize her for struggling with her mental health after everything she'd been through. Trauma, identity crisis, memory loss, medical hell, marital issues, and being newly postpartum. Instead of realizing maybe, just maybe, the doctor who took advantage of her was the real problem here. Instead, Alex is calling Izzie a stupid B** tech in the middle of the hospital for doing her job, just trying to help Ava. And after threatening to physically fight her, he suddenly wants to crawl into her arms for comfort. The same guy who turned on her over Denny and Rebecca. Izzie may have torn Alex apart in the locker room during that Dr. Model moment, but after that, it's like she lost the ability to stand up for herself. She's basically his emotional punching bag and security blanket all rolled into one. And don't even get me started on the whole obsession with Ava. The girl was obviously struggling, mentally unwell, and manipulative, yet Alex was still completely infatuated. It makes zero sense. Even after she disappeared, Alex was unbearable. I just can't with that storyline. And as for Izzie cutting Denny's LVAD wire, well, she didn't just mess with someone's life. She actually stole a heart that was supposed to go to another patient. So now that guy has to endure immense pain because of Izzie's selfish decision. But sure, let's focus on how Alex is the real victim here. Makes total sense, right? Is it just me? Or did Meredith's rise to extraordinary, groundbreaking surgeon status kind of come out of nowhere? Sure, she was a decent resident, good at some things, okay at others. But suddenly, she's this famous, hotshot surgeon, and it feels a bit like they're forcing it. I'm rewatching the show for like the millionth time, and it just doesn't sit right with me. Now, I get Christina. She was always the risk taker, the one with the wild ideas, practically a prodigy. She had that drive from the start. But Meredith? By the end of their residencies, I'd say she and Alex were on the same level. And then bam, she's this surgical genius out of nowhere. I do kind of get it, though. There's that whole "he's not the son, you are" thing from Christina's last message to Meredith. Maybe it's about Meredith stepping out of Derek's shadow and finally getting her time to shine. But even then, I'm conflicted. Let me make it clear. I love Meredith. This isn't me hating on her. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the shift. Early on, she seemed like the prodigy who never tried. She had all the answers, nailed diagnostics, but didn't have Christina's drive. She was always ahead of Alex, Izzie, and George, but Christina was the one outpacing everyone through sheer ambition and hustle. But was Meredith's surgeon trajectory totally random? Not really. From the very beginning, they were hinting at it. She had the talent of her mom. They just didn't shove it in our faces. She was smart, had the skills and the potential, but her storylines focused so much on Derek, her mother, and her depression that it wasn't until later that we saw her really shine. And let's not forget, she was consistently the one figuring things out while the others struggled. Like when she nailed Katie's condition in the first few episodes, or when she correctly answered Weber's 5 Vivi's question when no one else could. In another episode, she figured out the Parkinson's treatment while her peers couldn't even catch a break. There's that one time when she even solved the tumor mystery while racing for the pager, and yeah, I'm totally raising my hands in excitement here. She was always shown as gifted. It didn't just come out of nowhere. But again, I'm conflicted, because while it makes sense when you look back, it still feels a little forced. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I'd love to hear what others think, so I'll admit it, I wasn't ready. I've spent months reading comments and posts about this, thinking I had it all figured out, like, oh, I'm totally prepared for whatever's coming. Yeah, right. I'm on my first rewatch since having my daughter, and let me tell you, I was not ready for that episode where the dad wants to take his daughter to Mexico. I didn't just cry, I sobbed. Full-on, ugly tears. And not just a few tears here and there, either. No, I choked on those tears like they were my last breath. My daughter's laying on my lap, all peaceful and asleep, and the only thing that kept me from completely losing it was hearing her little breaths. And then, oh, of course then, they hit me with Callie cutting her dad off. Just perfect. As someone who cut off my own dad for, his blatant lack of respect for my identity, it was like a punch straight to the gut. I swear, I couldn't even breathe properly for a minute. I'm never watching that episode again. Like, not ever. That's it. That's the one episode I'm officially done with. Honestly, I almost threw up from crying. I made the mistake of rewatching it not long after my son was born, and well, let's just say I wasn't the same after that. Wrecked. Beyond wrecked. So I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy and hit the part where Izzie, bless her heart, decides that the best way to get Denny a heart transplant is to literally make his heart worse. Yeah, you heard that right. She's hysterically crying, sobbing like she's starring in a Lifetime movie, and acting like she's in a telenovela. What is even happening? Rewatching Grey's Anatomy is honestly a roller coaster at this point. It's like every character is one bad day away from a psych evil. Izzie's obsession with Denny? Hard to watch, and let's be real, she barely even knows him. Just skip the whole storyline. It's stupid. I mean, Izzie was clearly just a lonely person who thought Denny was the answer to all her problems. She was starved for attention and affection, and let's face it, she never got that kind of love again on the show. Alex treated her like garbage. Meredith and Christina were living in their own little world, and George. Don't even get me started on George. It wasn't a good storyline. They could have kept Denny around a bit longer, so their relationship could actually develop. But as a fellow lonely soul, I'll admit, Denny's death still makes me cry every time. Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about Chandler Wilson and James Pickens Jr. for a second, shall we? It's honestly mind-blowing how little appreciation they get, considering they've been the beating heart of Grey's Anatomy from the start. Meanwhile, Ellen Pompeo, aka Meredith, seems to get all the spotlight, even though, let's be real, Bailey is the one who's been holding it all together for years. If Bailey weren't there, the hospital would probably implode. She's basically the hospital's mom, constantly putting out fires, doing everyone else's emotional labor, and still managing to be an absolute badass. But sure, let's keep giving the glory to Meredith. And seriously, in the later seasons, Bailey is the true main character. No one else is holding that ship together quite like she is. When she leaves, it's over. I honestly can't imagine the show without her. And yet, there's this bizarre trend of her being underappreciated. It's like she's the glue that keeps everything together while Meredith is off having her big emotional moments. It's a classic case of do the heavy lifting, get ignored. And then, don't even get me started on how Bailey and Catherine had to teach a grown man in his late 20s basic boundaries and patient rights in the latest episode. Really? How are these supposed grown adults still so clueless while Bailey and Catherine, who should be enjoying their well-deserved time as the powerhouses they are stuck cleaning up after them? If this doesn't show just how screwed up the Shepherds are, I don't know what does. Oh, Norman. Norman. The guy who really should have shown up in the later seasons, if only to provide more material for everyone to roll their eyes at. At the end of the episode, he makes this huge dramatic declaration that he's done with surgery and is going to switch to a psych residency because apparently surgeons need a good shrink. And sure, it might have been cool if he'd somehow wound up as their shrink instead of Catherine Wyatt or Walter Care, but let's be real, he wouldn't have finished a psych residency in time for that to even happen. And oh yeah, he already died before Walter Care made his entrance. So guess that dream is shot. Anyway, I clicked on this because I was genuinely curious to see what others had to say about the guy. And surprise, surprise, most people felt the same. This guy was annoying. He just kept getting in the way, and Alex, poor Alex, was bending over backward trying to be nice to him, though not without a little bit of grumbling. Honestly, I loved the other two main shrinks. Walter Care was the kind of cool we all aspired to be, and Catherine Wyatt, always composed, totally on top of it. But Norman? He wasn't even close to being in the same league. And don't even get me started on the trauma shrink. Can't even remember his name. That's how forgettable he was. The guy was so convinced that the kid's issues were just because of drugs, and not for a second did he think to explore any medical or psychiatric causes. If that doesn't scream, Norman shouldn't be anywhere near healthcare. I don't know what does.